This week, what we're going to do is we're going to call this message, The Doors to More. And so in this message, we're going to look at three particular doors, three doors that I believe that we can approach. And here's the thing, when you go up to a door, you don't just stand at a door. That would be, right? I mean, unless you're a stalker or a creeper weirdo. Like, if you're a normal person, you go up to a door and you knock on the door, right? And then hopefully it gets open and you walk through the door. Or if it's your door, then you go up to the door and you open the door and you walk through the door. You don't just go stand and stare at the door. And so we're going to look at three doors today that I believe that we should approach, that we should knock on, and ultimately that we should enter, that we should go into. And the first one is, and this will make sense when we talk about the first one, kind of the language behind it. And we're going to call door number one the ask door. You got to be clear when you're saying the ask door, because some of y'all just take everything out of context. So this is the door, the first door, and honestly, I'll be completely honest with you, you're not supposed to do this, but the first door, this is the most important door that we're going to talk about. Like, to me, you're supposed to save the best for last. We're going to just come in hot, right? And so this is the most important door that we're going to look at today. It is the ask door. And this is a door that I believe it does cause for some people some confusion, maybe some frustration. They formulate their views of God and their understanding of God based on this door. And this is the door that we approach, that we knock on when we are needing direction, when we're seeking answers, when you're in search of provision, when basically, kind of if you wanted to reduce this down to the most simple way to understand it, this would be the door of prayer. Right? We come to this door, we understand that we don't have all of the answers, that we can't figure this thing out on our own. We don't have the strength and ability to get through whatever we're going through, and we need some help. So we go to this door, and we knock on this door, and hoping on the other side of this door is the answers to the questions or the direction that we need. And so if you understand prayer, simply put, like if we, again, just keep reducing it down to the most simple understanding. Prayer is this communication with God, right? It is telling God, expressing to God the needs that we have. And where we get maybe a little frustrated about that is like, well, God, you already kind of know. So why would I need then to verbalize or communicate? And it's just like, wait, does your spouse know that you love them? They should. Good. On February 8th, we're doing Power Couples. And it is an opportunity for everyone to come and learn about relationships. We're doing a whole series next. Let me back up. I'm going to give you guys a chance to redeem yourself. Does your spouse know that you love them? Yes. Does that mean that you shouldn't ever have to tell them that you love them? No, right? And so expressing things that are known, there's nothing wrong with that. It furthers and strengthens the relationship. Any person who would be considered, y'all got me a little flustered on that one. I was really, really expecting a little bit more from you, right? So anybody that would be considered a professional or an expert in relationships, say a counselor or whatever the case may be, would admit willingly that at least in the top three that communication is the foundation to a successful relationship. It is the key to a successful relationship. And that to some degree is what prayer is. And so the primary point here is that prayer is not something that we do one time, it's something that we do all the time. It's something that we do regularly. It's a door that we approach all of the time, and we rap, tap, 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 knock, knock, knock on that door, and we find some answers that we're looking for. This is what it says in Matthew chapter 7, verses 7 and 8. It says, "Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks it will be opened." Now, full disclosure, when you read that, it kind of simplifies it. Like, it almost seems too simple, doesn't it? It's like, well, if I ask, God will give it. If I seek, I will find it. And if I knock, God's going to open the door. The reality is, it's not that simple, right? The reality is like, I've asked for things that I haven't received. I've searched for things that I haven't found. I've knocked on doors and felt like there was nobody home. That's the reality of it. So the question is then, do I just quit? Do I quit pursuing? Do I quit going after? Do I quit knocking on the door? And I think this is where we tend to get frustrated in our walk with God, is maybe we feel like he isn't answering us, or maybe we feel like at least maybe he's not answering us in a way that we would prefer that he would answer us. And so if that's the case, if you find yourself in this position, this is something that is so helpful. Maybe a better way, and I didn't make this up, you can look at the commentary on this, maybe a better way of understanding Matthew chapter 7, verses 7 and 8, instead of just ask and it will be given to you, a better translation possibly is to keep asking and it will be given to you. Keep seeking and you will find. Keep knocking and the door will be opened. And what's crazy is, like, it's funny, I've heard that verse thousands of times, and I've never heard it explained quite like that. I happened upon a commentary, and it was like footnotes at the bottom when you read that stuff, and it's like, it may be better if you translate this as keep asking, keep seeking, and keep knocking. And I was like, that makes so much more sense. Why hasn't anybody told me this, right? Because I knocked on the door and I left because I thought nobody was home. And I asked and I didn't get the answer that I was looking for. And so there are a couple of aspects to this that I think that can cause frustration and things, maybe a better way to approach this. And the first one is that some people read that when it says ask and it will be given to you, right? Seek and you will find, knock and it will be open. Some people read that as if God's going to give them whatever they want, regardless of what his plan is for their lives. And it just don't work like that. That's just, imagine as a parent that you have a child. Let's say your child has a wild imagination. Some of them do, right? And they want a dinosaur or a unicorn or something just, very crazy and elaborate. And so just because they ask for it doesn't mean that you're going to give it to them. One of my children, who I will leave nameless, for as long as I can remember, has wanted a Corvette. So let's say that as a parent, because I love him and I'm going to give him whatever he asks for at, 9, 10 years old, I'm like, here's a Corvette. Probably not in his best interest to have the keys to a Corvette at that particular age, right? And so ultimately, it doesn't necessarily matter as much that you're asking for what you want. It's us getting in line with. There's the balance to that would be, there's other verses of Scripture that make it clear when we ask according to his will, and we keep asking according to his will. And what that also does is it makes sure that our hearts are getting in line with his. Prayer doesn't always change your situation as much as it changes the person in the situation. You, right? Me. When we're asking, a lot of times what happens is that now we're actually aligning and posturing our hearts with God's will. God doesn't maybe answer the question the way that we want him to, but we are now prepared for the thing that we have to face. Y'all see how that works? Prayer changes things all the time, and most of the time it's you, me, us, right? So that's the first part of it is like, just because it's not happening how you want it to happen doesn't mean that you got it all figured out. It's according to his will. The other thing that I find in this passage that's incredibly important is consistency and or persistence. Like consistence in the fact that you would just continue to approach, and persistence in maybe in the tenacity with which you are approaching the conversation or the objective or the seeking and the finding and the knocking and the answering and all of that stuff. To be consistent and persistent. I think what happens so often is that we don't experience the more, like the real more, that we're after, the more that we desire, the spiritual growth, God moving in unique and special ways in our lives, simply because we give up on it too soon. I think we quit. We're kind of be rude to all of us. Like, I include myself in this. Everybody good with that? I think we're a little soft sometimes, right? I think we ask a couple of times, and maybe you pray. Maybe you prayed for a couple of weeks. Maybe you prayed for something for a couple of months. Maybe you were a warrior and you prayed for something for a couple of years and it didn't happen and you just gave up on it. What if this consistency and persistence meant that you would pray for it for the rest of your life, even if it didn't come to pass? I think maybe we're missing out on a lot of things just because we give up on it too soon. I have another son. I'm just ragging on my kids today. It's fun. I have another son who is, can I be honest with you, he's so annoying. I love him so much. But as it relates to asking, no one is better No one is better. He will ask and ask and ask and ask in different ways and ask a different parent and ask, you know what I'm talking, and just persistent, so persistent until he just wears you down. And finally, like, whatever, bro, just go. Just get out of my hair, get out of the house, just leave. You are on my nerves. No, not that God would be irritated with us like that, right? But what if we had that same level of persistence when we're asking God for things that actually matter? And I'll just go ahead and just be like Titus. Just be, is he in here? Good, I hope not. I'm going to tell it again later. I'll get him, right? Just be more like Titus. Just keep on knocking, keep on asking. Just be persistent. Ask in a different way. Ask like just all the way around the thing. Ask so many questions that eventually maybe some things will move and some things will happen. I heard a story one time about a guy who had a neighbor who wasn't saved, who didn't go to church, and he cared for this guy. They were friends, and he prayed for him all the time. He was like, man, God, just do something in this guy's life. And it was weird because he would go into the man who was praying for his neighbor had a tool shed, and every time he went into the tool shed, he kind of just made this covenant with God, this agreement with God, that every time I go into this tool shed, I'm going to say a quick prayer for my neighbor, whatever his name was, right? And it was just kind of like this thing that he would do that would cause him to remember just to keep praying for his neighbor. So fast forward a few years, not a few days, not a few weeks, not a few months, a few years, his neighbor calls him. He's like, hey, man, can I borrow something from your tool shed? He's like, yeah, I'm not home. Go ahead. You're my buddy. Whatever. Go over there. Get whatever you need. And he said that the story goes, and this is kind of this is a preacher story from a preacher to a preacher to a preacher. So I actually do believe this is a true story. And so the story goes that he calls him. He's like, can I borrow something from your tool shed? He's like, absolutely, go get it. And his neighbor goes over to his house, walks to his tool shed, goes in his tool shed, and he's like, I don't know what happened. I can't explain it, but something came over me. I had this awareness, and he didn't even have the language for it, what we would call conviction, what we would call this awareness that God is real, that God is doing something, that God is working, God is moving, God is drawing, God is calling. And he said he just fell on his knees inside of his neighbor's tool shed, had no idea that this guy had prayed for him for years and years in that tool shed. I think we miss out on stuff like this just because we quit knocking and we keep asking and we quit knocking, we quit asking, we quit seeking. So my prayer for us in this coming year is that, man, we would knock on that door, that we would just knock regularly, we would knock repeatedly, and we would knock understanding that the goal is relationship, to know God better, to be known better by God, to have a deeper understanding of who he is. Keep knocking on the ask door. That's door number one. That was good. You almost got me emotional, right? Door number two, I'm going to call it the war door just because it rhymes. It's just so fun. It's not technically the war door. It is fitting. Can I get some Kleenex? Hey, hold up. Y'all wouldn't believe the amount of stuff that we have. I'm just going to pull out a couple. Just in case y'all get out of line. So the war door, let's talk about the war door. So it's not technically the war door. The title is a little bit misleading, but I do like the way that it sounds, and it is related to the door that we're actually going after. Maybe a better way to say that wouldn't fit kind of, succinctly in a point here is the preparation for war door, the preparing for war door, not just the war door. And the truth of the matter is this. If you've been alive for any length of time, if you've been coming to church for any length of time, like 30 seconds, then you realize that you're going to face battles in your life. You're going to have fights in your life. You're going to have struggles in your life, and that is absolutely inevitable. And so the question is, what if we spent just a little more time training and preparing for those fights than we did fighting all of those fights? Y'all ever feel like you're just fighting all the time? Like, I'll be completely honest with you. Sometimes my life feels like I go from battle straight to another battle, straight to another battle, straight to another fight, straight to another struggle, straight to another drama, straight to another fire, straight to another problem. And it just feels like that's all I ever do is just constantly go from one thing to another thing, and I don't ever have time to prepare for the things that I'm actually facing. So a better way maybe to understand this is like, let's make sure that you're going to have fights. You're going to have battles. You're going to have struggle. You're going to have all of that stuff. But let's make sure that we're going through the door that helps us to prepare for the wars that we're going to fight. And the preparation is so important. Do you think that just fighting all of the time makes you better at fighting all the time? Nominally, maybe. Like potentially there would be a little bit of value in that. But preparing to fight, preparing and training to fight, I think would make us so much better and more prepared for the fights that will inevitably come. It reminds me of this passage of Scripture, Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 and 11, and then we'll jump down to 13 and 14. We're not leaving verse 12 out just for the sake of time. We'll talk about it, okay? It says this, finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. So the implication is that we're supposed to be strong. What's powerful about that is not your strength. It's not my strength. Be strong in the Lord. It's strength that comes from him. How do we develop that strength? By spending time with him, right? So proximity, kind of there's a transference of strength as we spend time with him. Finally, be strong in the Lord and the strength of his might. Put on the full armor of God so that you will be able to stand firm against the schemes of the devil. And so the first part of that is like we understand that the strength is not our strength. The strength comes from God. And in preparation, we spend time with him so that we can get strength from him. Then we put on the full armor of God, not our armor, his armor, but that is preparation. It prepares us. Imagine that if you went out into the battlefield and everybody else is kitted up and geared up to the teeth and you ain't got nothing, you're in trouble, right? It's the old knife to a gunfight problem, right? And so we prepare, we put on the armor so that we are prepared for the struggles, the battles, the fights that will come. And it says, so that you will be able to stand firm against the schemes of the devil. And then verse 12 kind of gives some clarification around that. It's like, hey, we don't wrestle with flesh and blood, but against spiritual principalities and forces and all of that stuff. And in Ephesians chapter 6, verses 13 and 14, it says this, therefore, take up the full armor of God. It's preparing. We are preparing to fight. Fighting is inevitable, but we are preparing to fight. Therefore, take up the full armor of God so that, there it is again, right? So that you will be able to resist on the evil day, and having done everything to stand firm therefore. And having done everything to stand, having done all of the necessary preparation, having done all of the training that could and should be done, now you are prepared for the fight. Let me ask you a question. Imagine that if you went to school every single day and you showed up to class and the teacher was just like, here's a test. And you're like, we haven't studied for this. We have not gone, where's that, what chapter is this over? And then, so you take the test and you probably bomb the test because it's over content or subject matter that you have not prepared for, right? And you show up the next day and they give you another test. Same story, right? You haven't prepared for, you don't know the content, we don't have a study guide, we don't have a practice test, we just showed up and there was another test. And the next day and the next day. Do you think you're really actually learning anything from that? Are you getting better as a result? You're learning that you really stink at tests that you don't have preparation for. And I think that kind of defines our lives sometimes, right? Like it's just test after test after test, and we don't do a lot of the preparation that is necessary to prepare us for the tests. It's like the well-known, well-used analogy of the two lumberjacks. Have you heard this one? You got one lumberjack, and I struggle with this. I identify with this guy because the one lumberjack, he's a man. He's got a beard. He's got the flannel, but it's kind of down. He got his sleeves cut, got his hamburger meat hanging out a little bit, and he's a dude, right? And this lumberjack, his approach is just, I've got an axe, and I'm going to swing it. And I'm going to hit, and I'm going to hit, and I'm going to hit. And trees eventually will fall. He's a grinder. Anybody relate to that? It's like, yeah, work hard, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, be strong, you a bad man. On the other side, you got a lumberjack who actually has something going on between the 4-inch space between his ears, right? And so he's like, so I have a tool that I can use. Wouldn't it make more sense if this tool was as efficient as it possibly could be for the task that it was designed to do? So rather than just hopping out of his F-150 pickup truck and going up to the biggest tree that he could find and start chopping, he actually takes some time to sharpen his axe. And what you find over time is that even though this guy is taking breaks and sharpening his axe, he accomplishes way more than the grinder who just hops out and starts whacking at trees. And maybe the takeaway for us is like, yeah, we whack at a lot of trees. But it don't seem like a lot of them are falling down, right? Maybe the preparation would be valuable. Maybe spending some time training would be valuable. And the question might be like, well, how do I train? What does that look like? What does that mean? Obviously, like prayer, as we've discussed. But also, if you continue reading in Ephesians chapter 6, it gives us some insight. It says, hey, put on the belt of truth. And then put on the breastplate of righteousness. Shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace, right? Put on shoes that wherever you go, peace will go with you, not your peace, but the peace that comes from above. And then you've got the shield of faith, the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit. So that is the armor. So here's what I think our off-season should look like, right? When you're not fighting, when you're not in a war, when you're not in a battle, is your life headed in the direction of truth? Is your life headed in the direction of faith and peace and all of these things, righteousness, these things that are supposed to be part of our armor? If your life is heading in that direction, then I think that we are more prepared for whatever it is that is to come. Whatever battles we do have to face, we are now more prepared for those battles. So, that being said, walk through, approach, walk to, knock on, and walk through the war door, the preparing for war door. Got it? Ask door, the war door, and in the last one, we're going to call it, sort of selfishly, the motion door, because we are motion church. Maybe it should have been like the motion activated door, those are the worst. Can we be honest? Because your speed at which you operate ain't the speed at which I operate, right? How many times y'all had some close calls where it's like that door is opening and you think you're going to make it, and you make it, so it's fine. So the last door that we're going to talk about today it's more about what we do here collectively. And it's a door. Look, if you're passing through or you've got a home church or whatever, so glad you're here. Go there, be involved, get plugged in, like invest in the church that you feel like God has called you to. This would be more specifically for those, maybe you're checking us out and you're looking for something that you can really kind of get connected to and be a part of. Or if this is your church, maybe what you've got is there's this concentric circle that helps us to understand this. You've kind of got the crowd, you've got the core, and then there's the crowd committed and core, right? And so maybe you're in the crowd. Maybe you come casually. Maybe this is, you really enjoy the church. Maybe you like the preaching. Maybe it's something you enjoy. Most people come for the music. I'm cool with that. So whatever the case is, if this is your church, I want this door to be for you. This is the door. And regardless of what level you would find yourself at in that particular concentric circle, I pray that this is a door that we all choose to walk through. And here's what I'm asking. I'm asking that as you think about the direction of your life for this year, as you think about what you're hoping to accomplish, what you want to see happen in your life, I'm asking you to commit for this year. Obviously, we would love to. This is not a contract that expires, right? If you want to continue with us after a year, we would love for you to do that as well, right? But for the year, what if for the year you really committed to church? What if for the year you really, really committed to being part of something like, I believe that one of the greatest joys and benefits to our lives is being part of the church, not just our church, but the church, and that is obviously expressed in kind of our local expression or the church, right? So if you are consistently part of a community like this, I believe that growth, if that's what we're after, and progress and more, is inevitable. I think that if you're part of a church like this, then growth is inevitable. Does that mean that it's going to be perfect? Absolutely not. Does that mean that you're not going to struggle? Absolutely not. In fact, I believe that when you make a commitment like that, watch out, right? I think that, because look, if I were the devil, I'm not. Shelley thinks I am sometimes. But if I were the devil, what I would try to do more than probably just about anything is to keep somebody who is not committed and connected to a church. I would try to keep them with every strength and ounce of my ability away from that connection to it's like the old, the how does the lion seek its prey? it doesn't run headlong into the pack. It picks off the ones that are on the fringe and lonely and isolated. And so if I were the devil, I would fight you so hard if you made a commitment to be connected to a community, a church like this. I would do everything I could to make sure that you understood that was the dumbest decision that you've ever made. So here's what I'm asking. This door, I've got two asks with regard to this door. The first one is this, and these are so simple, so simple. The first one is this: come. Just come. Come. How about this? Come more than you don't come. Come more often than you don't come. Come as often as you possibly can. Don't be a regular attender of Church of St. Mattress. Be a regular attender of Motion Church, right? Come as often as you can. Bro, take vacations like that. We love vacations. In fact, take me with you sometimes. Like, all for it. Like, do that. But, dog, do you vacation 3 weeks out of the month? Because if you do, I need you to hire me. Like, whatever, I don't care what you're doing. If it's legal, hire me. I mean, anyway, come as often as you can. And I think that regularity, the rhythm that is developed, has value to your life. It adds value to your life. Get up, get moving, come and be a part of what God is doing here at Motion Church. Are you going to get something out of it every single week? I hope so. I'm not sure. I can't say for sure that you will. I really hope that you do, and I'll be completely honest with you. We make our very best effort to ensure that happens. Like, when I promise you, our worship team puts in hours and hours preparing for you to have an experience with God in worship. I promise you, as ridiculous as I can be sometimes, that all of this is tailored to create a space and opportunity for you to have a connection with God, to learn about God, to have a relationship with Him. And so what I believe that you'll come to realize and experience is that when you come often, when you're regular, when you have this rhythm in terms of connection to the community, you'll start to realize that you don't always have to get something out of it. Is it good that you do? Absolutely. But you start to realize that it's not just about that. That then there's this shift that happens where you have this awareness internally that I don't necessarily have to get something out of this, but now I'm at a point where I have something to offer to other people. And so it's not just about me, but it's also about what I can do for others, what God can do through me, that you being here sometimes means something to someone else, not just, again, what you can get out of it. And God will meet your needs as you meet the needs of other people. So come. As Billy Graham would say, come. Well, that wasn't very good. He's like, won't you come? Like, in this very sophisticated North Carolinian. I'll work on that. I'll do better. The second thing is this. So come. That's number one. This is the motion door, right? The second thing is this. Bring other people. Bring others with you. Think about how offended. Do you have any friends that are kind of sensitive? I've got some sensitive friends. I'm probably a sensitive friend sometimes. Let's say that you discovered this amazing new restaurant. Best food you've ever had. At a great price. You leave. Great everything about it is right. Great customer service, great food, great price. And let's say that you go there all the time. Like, I mean, once a week at least, you go to this particular restaurant and you love this restaurant. And then your best friend finds out 6 months later that you've been going to this restaurant every week and you haven't told them about it. As a friend, I would be offended, right? Especially since it's related to food. I would be highly offended. Imagine that you found this place that your life is greatly impacted by, that you have started to develop a relationship with God, or you have strengthened your relationship with God. And every week you have an opportunity and you come and you gather with other people and you worship the God of heaven, and you just have this sense that God is here and He's doing something and He's making some moves, and you didn't tell anybody about that. As your friend, I would probably be offended. So that's the second part of this ask, is that, man, just invite other people to join in on this movement. Invitation to church. Look, this is how I view this. It is a form, not the form, but a form of evangelism. It is a way for you to ultimately invite people to have a relationship with Jesus. And we are very intentional about creating a space where people who don't know Jesus can have the opportunity to do that. And so when you invite people, trust me that we are partnering with you in creating a space, creating an opportunity for them to have an encounter with Jesus. And so it is a form. It is not the form. Like, obviously, I think evangelism is something that we should be doing individually and personally, but collectively, this is what it could look like. And here's the heart behind this. I want to make sure that we understand this, because people, they have like all of these weird potential judgments about churches, and I understand some of it, because churches do some dumb stuff sometimes. You're like, y'all ever do that? Like, what is you doing? I promise you, this is not about us just trying to look good. I promise you that we don't do stuff like this so that we can posture like churches and pastors. Like, we're so dumb sometimes. Like, how many people go to your church? You don't even know. Like, you're just pulling numbers out of the air. Like, I have talked to pastors and I've heard numbers about their churches, and I'm like, I don't believe you. Like, you're just lying if you ain't. Anyway, so just not telling the truth. That is not what this is about. I promise you that we're not doing this so we can post these numbers online and people think that we're something special or to stroke our ego. Here's what I believe, if we're going the numbers route and we have a concern about numbers, here's what I believe about numbers. Numbers are people. People are stories. People have stories. And what I pray is that every one of those people who would come into this place would have a story that is impacted and directed towards Jesus. It's impacted by Jesus. It's been changed. It's been altered in some way, and it is now directed towards Jesus. And so when we ask for you to bring more people along with us as we do this thing, what we're really asking for is that you would bring more people to come and worship Jesus with us every week. What we're asking that you would do is bring more people so that they could come and hear his word every single week. What we're asking is that you would bring more people so that they can find more community every week. What we're asking is that you would bring more people so that we could have more people connected in small groups, having these deeper conversations about life and Jesus and all of the things that actually matter. What we're asking when we ask that you bring more people is that you would bring more people so that more marriages could be strengthened and changed. We're asking that you would bring more people so that more children can be raised up and trained up in the way that they should go. What we're asking when we ask that you bring more people is that there would be more of us so that when we leave the church building on Sunday morning, we can make more of a difference in the community that we're living in. That's what we're asking when we ask for more. So my prayer for us, this is what I'm asking for. We ask, right? We walk through that ask door. We walk to, we knock on, we walk through that ask door. Pray. Pray that God would make you the person that he wants you to be. Pray that God would show you the direction that he wants for your life. Pray and ask according to his will. The war door, right? Be prepared. Do everything you can. Set your life in the direction of truth, righteousness, peace, faith, the sword of the Spirit, which is God's word. That's the direction that our life should be set. And then the last one being the motion door, come and bring. Come and bring. Amen? Let me pray for us. Jesus, we're so thankful, as always, for everything that you do for us. God, you've done enough. And there's nothing else that we could ask for. There's no more that we need. You've done everything that we need you to do. And we're so thankful for that. But God, we know that in your grace and your kindness and your love towards us, that you continue to give and you continue to pour out and you continue to lavish your love on us, God. So we enjoy the more that you continue to give, and we're so thankful for it. God, I pray that we would ask more, that our relationship with you would be strengthened through our communication with you. God, that there are things that we don't understand, we would ask you for them. We would ask you about them. When we're in need of direction, that we wouldn't rely on our own strength, our own intelligence, our own ability to discern and figure things out, that we would ask you for direction. God, when we're tired and we're weary and we're beat down, that we would ask you for strength. That God, simply put, we would ask you for the things that we need. God, I pray that you would help us to be more prepared for the fights that come. by setting our life in the direction of the armor as we discussed. And Father, I pray that as a church, God, that you would do more in us this year than you ever have before. God, help us to not get comfortable, to not settle with where we're at and what we have. Not that we're not thankful, not that we're not appreciative, but God, we know that there are more people that are hurting. There are more people that are lost. There are more people that are in desperate need of you, Jesus. Help us, God, to do our part. We love you, and we're so thankful for you. It's in your incredible name we pray. Amen.